Hello everyone, I just got to say I'm absolutely fuming. I've just recorded a video that was nearly 20 minutes long and I uploaded it to YouTube, took ages, got to 99% and it said it was too long. Now, we've all seen YouTube videos that are longer than 20 minutes, so I don't think that's true. YouTube aligned me, don't know how to solve the problem, so I'm now having to re-record two smaller videos where hopefully I don't ramble on for quite as long. Just devastated because I actually think that was some of my best work yet, and now I'm having to start again and I'm wasting time telling you things like that. So hopefully this will be as good and hopefully it won't take me quite as long to record. Anyway, bitterness out the way. Talking about stem cells today. So stem cells, some of it's going to be what you already know before, but a lot of it is going to be building on that. So you need to focus on the extra detail that wasn't there at GCSE. In different parts of the slides, I have put video links in. Some are just like YouTube lists, some of them are actual specific videos. I really think this is a topic that you need to research in detail because there's so many different things you can research, so you really need to look through things. So please do go away and do your own research afterwards. Okay, so stem cells, we should know, are undifferentiated cells that have the potential to become any kind of specialised cell. That you should know from GCSE. Things you might not know is the use of the word pluripotent or multipotent. Now, pluripotent, which is also the same as totipotent, if you read it like that somewhere else, means that a stem cell can become basically any kind of cell that it wants to. Multipotent means it can be a few different types of cells. So adult stem cells are multipotent. So for example, in our bone marrow, those stem cells can become any kind of blood cell. Platelets, red blood cells, any kind of white blood cell. What it can't do is become a muscle cell or a brain cell. So it's multipotent. It can become a selection of things. The reason why stem cells can do this is because they're generally able to express all of their genes. Now, hopefully you know something about non-coding and coding DNA, or you might have referred to it as introns and extrons. But if you're not sure, we have a large section of non-coding DNA, which is basically DNA that doesn't code directly for a characteristic or a protein, but it codes to turn on and off other coding genes. So it turns other genes on and off. Stem cells have the ability to turn on any coding gene, and that's why they can become anything. Lots of cells can't do that. For example, a sperm cell isn't going to turn on the gene that produces estrogen, even though it has it in its DNA. It's not going to do that because it doesn't need it. So stem cells, whether they're pluripotent or multipotent, can turn on generally all of their genes, but if they are multipotent, they can turn on slightly less genes, and that's why they can become slightly less cells. They spend a lot of their time in the G0 phase of the cell cycle and only really move on to that if they need more stem cells, or alternatively, they actually need to then differentiate. Embryonic stem cells are probably one of the biggest sources, or the only source, of pluripotent stem cells within humans. Okay, you can get them in different animals, but within humans, embryonic and umbilical cord cells are the only cells that are pluripotent, which kind of makes sense because after the egg's formed, we need to be able to become pretty much anything in order for every part of the body to be formed, really. All the cells that we have in adults are multipotent. So classically, you've been told the bone marrow. Now, interesting fact about the bone marrow is when you're a child, you have bone marrow in any large bone would basically have stem cells in it. So humerus, femur, pelvis, sternum, your breastbone, some of your shoulders, your scapulars. Okay, when you become an adult, because you're not growing, therefore you have less need for more stem cells, apparently. We have them in less places, so we mostly find them in our pelvis and our femur, and that is it. There is new research that is out that says that basically every organ has its own very, very, very small but real source of stem cells that are specific to that organ. So stem cells that are multipotent and quite specific, and they can really only become cells related to that organ. So we know that every organ's got like a different set of tissues. It can only become those tissues. Then we have plants. So we have the meristem in plants. So meristem is just the name for the stem cells. We find them in the roots and the shoots, so basically where it's growing from, and growth nodes. We also have the cambium, which is a strip of meristem, which sits between the xylem and the phloem and derives them. In labs, we have induced pluripotent reprogrammed cells. Now, what this means is we are experimenting with normal cells that are specialised and sending them signals to kind of try and make them or force them to turn on more genes and make them unspecialised. Here is a picture, obviously, of a bone marrow cavity, just so you can kind of see like where we're kind of looking inside the bone. This is a zebrafish. Now, zebrafish is really interesting to us because it is one of the biggest source of stem cells, I guess. It's the animal that can regenerate itself the most, so they're actually quite hard to kill because if you chopped it in half, the other half will grow back. So we do a lot of experimentation on zebrafish because they have rapid regrowth of almost any part of the body. The only part of our bodies that we can actually regrow is the liver. So you could chop a bit of your liver off and it would regrow, but if you chopped your arm off, it wouldn't. Lizards as well, you can also pull off their tails. That's a defense mechanism against predators. So if a predator grabs it by its tail, it can just drop its tail, run off and grow a new tail. Starfish aren't on here, but starfish can do it too with their legs. So if a leg gets chopped off for whatever reasons, it can grow it back, which is nice. I'm going to pause there and make another video after this.